Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to COD Zombies HQ. With only a few weeks left before the start of Season 5 here in Cold War Zombies, because of some past trends as well as because of leaked Zombies DLC information, we now have a pretty good idea of what's going to be added into Cold War Zombies in a few weeks' time, beginning in Season 5 and then culminating with the final round-based Zombies DLC that's going to be released either at the start or in the middle of Season 6. But in between that, there is still a bunch of content that we expect Treyarch to release. First and foremost, in one of those rare occurrences where a leak comes out at the start of this game's launch and it turns out to be 100% accurate, is in the form of the leaked DLC perks that we've been getting here in Cold War. If you guys remember, there were 4 leaked DLC perks that we expected would arrive as DLC because when the game launched, 4 specific perk jingles were found in the game files that had their Dark Ether variants, confirming that they would indeed come to specifically Cold War. 2 of those 4 have already come true in an interesting order, starting with Tombstone, which I think everybody least expected of the 4 to actually be true. That of course arrived with the release of DLC 1 Firebase Z. Next of course is Mule Kick, which arrived with Mauer Der Toten, which Treyarch has taken to calling DLC 3, them preferring to see Outbreak as DLC 2, so okay. But that leaves 2 perks left still to release here in Cold War Zombies, and if they seem to be keen on only releasing 1 perk with every new Zombies map, but therein lies the problem, right? We're expecting to only get 1 regular round-based map left for the main DLC season here in Cold War Zombies, but there's still 2 perks to release. So that means it's likely that 1 of the 2 new perks will be releasing in Season 5, with Treyarch kind of saving the best for last. The first of the 2 perks yet to release is, of course, Double Tap Root Beer. We haven't seen Double Tap in a Treyarch COD Zombies game since Black Ops 3. It famously wasn't included in Black Ops 4, it being seen as a, quote, crutch perks by the game's developers, meaning you always wanted to have it, therefore it wasn't really that interesting when there was a 4 perk limit. But a 4 perk limit doesn't exist anymore here in Cold War, and though I highly doubt that we'll see a total 1-to-1 Double Tap 2.0 equivalent here in Cold War, where essentially in Black Ops 2 and 3 Zombies, Double Tap 2.0 had you doing double damage to the zombies, firing off an extra shot for every one you fire. I do not think that will make a return here in Cold War Zombies. Instead, I think it's far more likely, similar in line with some in the Zombies community members have been theorizing, where the 2 main benefits of Double Tap will be the classic increased fire rate, and second, as a replacement for Double Tap 2.0's effects, I expect Cold War's version of Double Tap in one of its tier upgrade slots to include a baseline increase in damage, probably around 10 to 15% increase in your weapon's damage when you have upgraded Double Tap active. Other theories for how they can include tiered upgrades for Double Tap include percent increases to your weapon's range, as well as flat decreases to your weapon's recoil when you have Double Tap active. In my mind, this would still probably make Double Tap the best DLC perk we would have gotten so far. No one really cares that much about having Tombstone activated, and while it's great having the ability to have 3 weapons with Mule Kick, probably the more important feature of Mule Kick in this game is the ability to actually pick up ammo drops when Mule Kick is active, but base increases to rate of fire as well as damage will be huge, and I can see Cold War's version of Double Tap becoming very popular when it does eventually release. The second of the 2 perks is equally as fan favorite, and that eventually will be PhD Flopper, which, similar to its Black Ops 4 version, will be probably called PhD Slider. We have yet to have any kind of perk in this game, as well as any other kind of skill upgrade that reduces any kind of explosive damage, where we can expect that the tier upgrades for PhD Slider will be centered around 2 things. The first is of course granting you immunity to your own explosive damage. When you fire off, let's say, the M79 at your feet, or even firing off the ray gun, you'll be immune to that self-inflicted damage. The second is of course being immune to the enemy's shock or explosive damage, where for example if you do have PhD Slider, you'll take far less damage and nearly be immune to the ranged attack that the Kransny Soldat fires down at you. But those are the defensive aspects of the perk, and of course the offensive aspect of the perk will be the ability to deal damage when you finish off your slide here in Cold War Zombies, making PhD Slider here in Cold War a very good combination of defensive and offensive attributes, but one that I still think players will be highly kind of sensitive about and only really want to use to make sure it's a crutch perk when you're actually using a weapon that you can do damage to yourself with. But still an awesome perk to have in this game. I think it's far more likely that we'll see this game's version of PhD Slider before we see Cold War's version of Double Tap, meaning that it's likely either at the start or in the middle of Season 5 we'll see PhD Slider added into the game, and then Double Tap later in Season 6 with the release of the final round-based map. Now, something to keep in mind, if we don't end up seeing any kind of perk added in Season 5, that could create some interesting scenarios where if they're only adding perks with round-based maps and there's still going to be one perk left to release, it creates interesting questions about the future of possible DLC content here in Cold War Zombies, which besides for the rumblings I've heard behind the scenes of a possible Zombies Chronicles 2, there's also been rumblings about continued support for new seasonal content here in Cold War Zombies beyond Season 6. But again, we're kind of sticking to Season 5 here, and that's a story for another day. The next type of content that we're very likely to see here in Season 5 is the continuation of Treyarch's plan of between round-based maps to continually release repurposed Warzone maps into the Outbreak game mode, wherein pretty much all of the Outbreak maps we've gotten so far were at one time part of Treyarch's new Warzone map that was eventually cancelled. And since its cancellation, likely in response to bosses over at Treyarch kind of wanting to make use out of some of that cancelled content, they've started repurposing those maps as Outbreak maps instead. We've seen a bunch of them already in the Outbreak mode, and likely that trend will continue with a few more notable locations from Treyarch's original Warzone maps still to be released as individual Outbreak maps. Now, what I think the community would find more interesting than just regular repurposed Outbreak maps that we've been seeing is some new actual content added into them. For some reason, Treyarch decided to add two quote-unquote main Easter eggs to the Outbreak mode in the downtime between Firebase Z and Mauer Der Toten, with those Easter eggs kind of acting as a prologue for the Mauer Der Toten Zombies map. Therefore, people are speculating that Season 5 could contain another one of those Outbreak Easter eggs that will again act as a prologue to the final round-based Zombies map here in Cold War. Next is something that we've seen Treyarch try a little bit that I actually thought there would be a little more of here in Cold War Zombies, to be honest with you, and that is the addition of new game modes here in Cold War Zombies. We've seen only two new game modes added into this game as limited time mode. The first was of course the Jingle Hell's seasonal game mode added back in December, and the second being the Cranked game mode, both Cranked 1 and Cranked 2 that we still have in this game as we speak. Knowing Treyarch at this point, you gotta think that it's likely that they'll go, it's Cranked 3 time baby on Mauer Der Toten, and act like that's some crazy type of new content. But a fella can still hope that they'll still have some kind of actual creativity with a new type of game mode still to be added into this game. Of course, everybody in the community, myself included, is still clamoring for a grief mode, a 4 vs 4 cooperative PvE mode to be added here in Cold War Zombies. This game is perfect for it, and for Treyarch to actually add it into this game would be legendary. It would really bump up the replay value on our limited and kind of shallow maps that we've received so in terms of content within each map. And the last thing that we're still likely to see either within Season 5 or perhaps even within Season 6 is the expansion of the tier system, where in the past Treyarch has teased that they're going to continue to expand the skills section here in Cold War Zombies. Recently, in one of the episodes of the Zombies News Update, we theorized that it's likely that they're not going to add tiers 6 and 7 into the mode, but rather expand the upgrade system to other aspects of Cold War Zombies, adding tier upgrades to either the equipment or even the score streak sections of the mode, enabling us to upgrade things like the chopper gunner and give us stuff to actually spend Ethereum crystals on even this late into the game's life cycle. So while we still have a little bit of time to wait before the big finale chunk of content is released here in Cold War, that being the last round-based map, there is still a lot for Treyarch to release in between. With Season 5 only a few weeks away, it's very likely that we'll start seeing definite details about what that content will be very soon. But that wraps up this video, guys. If you did enjoy, hey, consider leaving a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel for more great content to come, and I'll see you with another Zombies news video tomorrow. Peace.